Hey guys, so firstly, I just want to thank you so much for all of the love and support that you gave me on my announcement video. I'm so excited to take you along this journey with me. I have no idea at what point I'll stop filming this journey because I have no intention of becoming like a mommy vlogger after baby is here. So, don't count on those types of videos once, she's bored or anything. But yeah, I have no idea how much I'm going to film, what I'm going to talk about. We're taking it week by week here with this pregnancy on the channel to see what I feel like doing, on the channel. I don't know. But today we are going to be talking about my first trimester. I'm going to do a recap video of everything that I experienced in the first trimester, how I knew I was pregnant before I knew, symptoms, remedies, cravings, aversions, anything and everything about my first trimester. I'm well into the second trimester now. I am currently at 18 weeks, well into 18 weeks, and feeling her move around so much, which is so bizarre. Every trimester I will do a recap and tell you about my symptoms and everything, at least for the first 2 trimesters, because obviously at the end of the third is when birth happens. So again, not sure what's the future plan is past that. But for now, I can promise you a first and second trimester recap. I'm also still collecting questions for a pregnancy Q&A. So if you have any questions at all about this pregnancy or my experience with it or anything like that, please leave it down below and I will try to do a pregnancy Q&A here very soon. So getting started, I titled my notes app for my first trimester, Depression and Disassociation. Really positive, motivating for people who are in their first trimester, I know. Before we jump into everything that I experienced, I just want to let you know, if you're watching this and you're currently in your first trimester, it gets better. There's a reason why the second trimester is the greatest trimester. It is fantastic, and all of your symptoms that you're currently feeling will end. I promise you, it feels never ending. On week 10, I know I'm jumping ahead for a second. On week 10, I had a little bit of a mental breakdown because I was so tired of feeling miserable and feeling like I'm an inconvenience to everyone around me because I'm constantly miserable. I felt like I was constantly complaining to everyone when I was just experiencing so much. So just know that that is completely normal to reach your breaking point at some point in the first trimester, and that it does get better. It definitely does. Anyway, but let's jump back to when I first got pregnant back in April and how I found out, and which I kind of already explained. I keep getting these spam calls all day. I've gotten like 12 spam calls. Sorry, unrelated, but it's really annoying me. Anyway, but also let's talk about how I knew I was pregnant before I knew. I briefly talked about this in my first vlog-ish announcement video. I'm not sure what that video even was. But so I was expecting my period on April 25th. I woke up that day. I knew it was not coming. The symptoms were so different to what I had always experienced with PMS. And I'd only been off birth control for 4 months at that point. So I'd only had 4 months of like normal periods of like my body rebalancing itself. So I was questioning it a little bit. I was wondering, like, is it just me feeling extra symptoms right now because my body is still adjusting to coming off of the birth control? And then obviously 4 days later, on the 29th, is when I took my first birth test, pregnancy test. Pepe's being so annoying today. What are you doing? You trying to jump up here? Can you make it up there? You're a little too fat, honey, to jump up here. If you hear any noise in the background, my cat is very hyper right now. I think he just pooped. So anyway, the symptoms that I was experiencing were very similar to PMS symptoms, but a lot stronger. So like the boob tenderness they were so painful. That was like the first major symptom that I had was they hurt so bad. I couldn't even touch them. It was so painful. Emotions were running amok in my body. And I feel like I knew I was pregnant because I am just more intuitive like that, I think. But also I feel things deeper. Like I am a very sensitive person, so I'm very sensitive to discomfort, hence why the first trimester was so miserable. But I think that's why I kind of anticipated something else was going on, because I can feel changes in my body. Like I just feel like I am very connected with my body, that I could sense that. And then I did have a day of implantation cramping, which I thought was normal cramping. It was that Saturday. Before my period came, or before I was anticipating my period. And then I come to realize that that's probably when she implanted into my uterus. Not everyone gets implantation cramping. Not everyone feels these symptoms. And also not everyone gets nausea right away. I feel like a lot of media portrays pregnant people displaying signs of nausea first, like they feel nauseous and then people are like, oh, you must be pregnant. I didn't experience that. I didn't have full nausea for a couple weeks after finding out. So then after I found out, those first couple weeks were very tough on me emotionally, adjusting to that change and adjusting to that news. I talked a little bit about this in the previous video, but I want to talk more about it because I've had so many people say that they felt severe guilt like I did about their first reaction to finding out they're pregnant is not a good one. And I think that's completely normal, as I've seen so many of you say that you've experienced that as well. And I think I'll do a separate video on like some things that we need to normalize in pregnancy that isn't really talked about enough, because I think a lot of people go through it. My cat is just making all kinds of noise. But we don't talk about it enough. So I will be doing a whole video dedicated to things that we don't talk about enough when it comes to being pregnant. Anyway, so the first few weeks I was adjusting, but I was also experiencing fatigue, which you saw in the vlog. And I think it's so funny watching that back because I had no idea what was coming. I thought I knew fatigue. I thought I knew what it meant to be tired. I absolutely did not. I had no idea it'd get worse. I didn't even know that was possible with the amount of fatigue I was feeling in the beginning. I would get severely out of breath in the beginning. Like I was so out of shape. Like I would try to clean the house a little bit or do the dishes, so out of breath. Take a shower. Washing my hair in the first trimester was a chore. Some days even holding up my phone just like in bed or a book or something was so exhausting. I couldn't even like hold my phone in front of my face. So all I could do was just lay there. And it was almost like painful to be awake. Like the fatigue was painful. I can't explain it more than that. I have a newfound respect for people who worked through the beginning of their pregnancy because I work from home. I'm self-employed. Obviously, I do this for a living. So I managed to find time to fit in filming videos and whatnot. I can't even imagine if I had like a normal job where I had to leave the house and could not immediately collapse after filming. Like I have so much respect for people who do that, or, you know, are forced to do that because they don't have an option, obviously. And also they don't have the option to tell people yet. I feel like that's another taboo that isn't talked about enough, of like telling people when it's too early. It's like, I think that should be up to the person who is pregnant, whether or not they feel comfortable sharing that. I can't imagine people not knowing and then me just being miserable and like no one knowing why. So I was falling asleep. I am not a napper. I actually hate naps. Hate them. I fight them when I feel a nap coming on, and I did that throughout the whole first trimester, but I would actually actively try to get a nap in every once in a while when I could, because it got to a point where it wasn't an option. I either had to nap or I was going to bed at 6 p.m. Like I had no choice. Okay, so then the nausea came in after this. Weeks 8 to 11 were really bad for me. Those are like the true worst weeks of nausea that I experienced, and I never once threw up. Now, like I mentioned in the past video, I don't know if it's because I'm a fighter and I hate throwing up so much that I will do anything in my power to not throw up. So I think that's one of the reasons why, even if it makes me feel better, I won't do it. I will sit and writhe in pain on the ground for hours and hours just so I don't have to throw up. So I want to talk a little bit about things that helped me. Let me actually grab them so I have like a visual to show you. Okay, I can't find one of the things, but the first thing that I invested in, I'm out of breath because I just ran around my apartment trying to find these things. Preggy Pops. These were really great. They're just like candies. They do have vitamin B6 in it, which I also took a supplement as well. So I started taking the supplement just with my prenatals, and also taking my prenatal vitamin at night really helped me because by the time it like kicked in, I was usually asleep. So the prenatals wouldn't really cause nausea much. But then I found out you're supposed to take B6 periodically as you need it. So I would take like half of a B6 in the morning when I felt the nausea coming on. But these were good just to like curb it in the moment. I found like sucking on something really helped me. So these were great. You do have to watch your B6 intake though, so make sure you're keeping track of how much B6 you're actually taking, because these have a little bit, Your prenatals have B6 in it, and then also you're taking a supplement, so make sure you're not going over, I think it's 100 milligrams a day, but I'm not a doctor, don't quote me on that, but talk to your doctor about it and they'll let you know how much to take. These little C-bands really worked for me. I had these on the entire first trimester pretty much. And I genuinely believe these work. I know these are a little like questionable. It's like, I know not everyone's gonna believe in, you know, acupuncture or whatnot, but these really worked for me, and if anything, they're not gonna hurt anything to wear, you know? They make pink ones too, if you don't want the blue ones. But a lot of people use these for motion sickness, so they're just like little bands, and they have like these little knobs on them that go on your pressure point on your wrists, and you put it kind of between your two tendons, 3 fingers down your wrist, and they just kind of chill there all day, every day. Sometimes I even slept in them because I was scared to wake up with nausea. Hi, editing me jumping in here. I also left out a couple things that really helped. Lemons, smelling lemons. I resorted to eating lemons, so I would just have like a wedge of a lemon and I would just suck on that. Helped so much. If anything, this is the most effective thing that I did while I felt the worst nausea. It would like completely get rid of it in the moments that I was sucking on a lemon or smelling lemons. It just works so well. I'm sure you could use like essential oils and things like that, but I'm not really comfortable with essential oils, so didn't want to use that. But also mint gum, chewing mint gum really helped. And then for smells that would drive me nuts, the strong smells, I would smell Vicks Vapor Rub. I wouldn't actually put it on my face, but I would just have the little pot and I would smell it like while I'm eating food, so I could actually eat, because for some reason our apartment smelled like garbage every single day to me, even though everything was clean. We took the garbage out. I think our neighbors would like cook and I could smell every ingredient that they're using in their dish. So that would drive me up the wall, so I'd have to just smell Vicks Vapor Rub all day while I'm eating to push through the nausea. So those are the like remedies that I bought for the nausea, but also eating regularly. I found that if I got hungry, the nausea was 10 times worse, and I would not be able to eat once it got to that point because anything made me want to throw up. So I would have to constantly be snacking, constantly have something in my stomach, otherwise I'm going to reach the point of no return and I'm not going to be able to get out of it. And I'm not gonna lie, the constantly eating got really draining, and it still is at 18 weeks. It's exhausting to constantly be hungry and constantly having to figure out a snack that isn't chips every time, you know? Cereal's been my best friend because it's light, it's easy to make. I don't wanna be making healthy snacks every 2 seconds. So a lot of times I just eat some sugary cereal, which is not the best, but cereal like helped with my nausea too. Dry cereal and just, you know, regular cereal when I felt nauseous in the first trimester. So my food aversions have actually calmed down a little bit now, which is fantastic because I genuinely don't feel pregnant anymore, which is so bizarre and concerning, honestly. I woke up one day and I'm like, I don't feel like it at all. Although now I feel her a lot, like I feel her moving around so much. She's a very active baby in there. Anyway, so food aversions, definitely had that so bad. It made my nausea so much worse. The worst culprit was garlic. Before I got pregnant, I ate garlic noodles almost every single day. And that's not an exaggeration. I ate garlic every single day. As soon as I got pregnant, absolutely not. I couldn't even smell it. I would make spaghetti with no garlic in it, which is not that great. Ryan was not allowed to cook with garlic. Couldn't smell it. Couldn't have it in the house. We didn't have any for like 3 months. I just couldn't do garlic. Also avocado or like guac really grossed me out and made me nauseous to even think about. So I didn't even eat avocados that much before, but today I ate my first avocado since being pregnant. We did it. It was delicious. I had it with some like potatoes. It was really good. I feel like another thing that everyone wants to know is, have you had any cravings? Like they want to hear about the weird pregnancy cravings that you get. And I'll do a little bit more in detail for the second trimester because I actually didn't get a lot of cravings until the second trimester. But how they worked for me in the first trimester was I would see something on TikTok, like a sandwich, and all of a sudden I would need that sandwich. Like I have to have a sandwich right now. Like it's a need, a must. So they wouldn't necessarily like come out of nowhere. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, I need pickles so bad right now. which I am the stereotypical pregnant woman now, loving anything pickled. So great. But I would see something that looked really good and all of a sudden I like had to have it. So that's how my cravings worked in the first trimester. But the most random thing that I just like woke up out of a sleep needing in my life more than anything were these. So this is probably the most bizarre craving that I've had, and I went and bought a 2-pound bag of them. Couldn't find them in a smaller package. Probably could somewhere, but I like had to order it right then and there to make sure they were on the way. And they are these old-fashioned wintergreen mints. They're just these little mints, these little pink mints that are old lady candies that they used to eat back in the day in like the 50s. Like my mom ate these as a kid and I had to have them. And they're delicious if you've never had these wintergreen candies. The white Lifesavers, like the minty ones, the same flavor, wintergreen. But it was specifically the texture and everything, the chalkiness of these pink candies I had to have. So I now have 2 pounds of those. Okay, so then the next symptom that I started experiencing was constipation. That was really fun. It was honestly painful. It was so miserable. I've never been so uncomfortable in my life. I would think that I was starting to get a belly. It was just bloating because I could not poop. Like, it was so bad. I found that eating a lot of fruit helped me at least go every other day. If I could go every other day, I was doing great. Prunes helped, but yeah, just your typical constipation remedies. I never took any stool softener or anything. So yeah, I can't really recommend that, but just eating a lot of fruit helped, just getting that fiber in. But still, it was like no matter what I did, I was still going to be constipated. So I could only hope for every other day. And I'm a regular person. I'm an everyday regular. So for me, that was very painful. And some days it would be like 3-4 days that I did not go. And I would be huge, just so bloated and uncomfortable and like, oh, it was bad. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the heavy stuff, the emotions. And I really can only label it now as depression. And I think it's really ironic because I have a pregnancy journal and I wrote on that day that I realized I was experiencing symptoms of depression, that it wasn't depression. I was convincing myself that it was normal, which it is. It's completely normal to experience perinatal depression while you're pregnant. And I was trying to say like, oh, this is just the pregnancy, and it is, but like writing it off completely, which isn't fair to me because it was depression. So I think at the time, what I was experiencing with the extreme fatigue, I don't even remember when it really started. I wish I'd wrote down the weeks like I do in the second trimester because I don't remember, but it was, I think, weeks and weeks of misery, of being really uncomfortable, nauseous all the time. Food was so hard because I wasn't eating enough. Nothing sounded good. Just doing anything, like just normal activities, was exhausting. Just, yeah, horrible fatigue. So I think all of it was just draining. It was draining my motivation and my energy, and I had basically nothing left for myself. There were days where I did not leave the couch. I laid on the couch the entire day, and I could do nothing but revert back to old habits that I had that were unhealthy, that I'd broken out of, like watching reality TV for hours and hours, scrolling TikTok all day. Screen time was astronomical, and I stopped doing anything that I enjoyed. I stopped watching horror movies, which obviously you know that I love. I stopped puzzling completely for the first trimester, and all I could do is mindlessly scroll, doom scroll, or watch old bad reality TV. And I had grown out of those things. I had started reading consistently. I'd puzzle in the mornings. I wouldn't go on my phone for hours and hours. My screen time was like 3 hours a day before I got pregnant. And then I just fell into this slump, like this big, heavy slump of not being able to do anything, and dragging myself out of that funk to do anything was so difficult. I honestly am so proud of myself because looking back, I survived so much discomfort and pushed myself to continue working regularly. I never took a week off, which just blows my mind because I don't know how I really did that, to be honest. And I'm just impressing myself along the way of how strong I've really been throughout this pregnancy. Because on paper, if I knew I was going to be experiencing all of these symptoms, I am so sensitive to discomfort, I hate it, that I feel like I would have just taken time off, you know, if I knew in advance. But in the moments, I would push through every time. I would film the videos, I would get them up. And I don't know how I did it. I just pulled it out of somewhere. But I managed to push through the entire first trimester. So I think what I was experiencing was a lot of depression symptoms, not liking anything, any hobbies, like none of my hobbies sounding good. I couldn't even puzzle. Puzzle's like a mindless thing to me. Like reading a book is one thing, but like puzzling, I love puzzling so much. If I could do it all day for fun, I would. Just none of my hobbies sounded good. Nothing's, not watching a horror movie. That's mindless. I could rewatch any horror movie on my shelf and I chose not to. So I think I definitely was experiencing symptoms of depression, of just feeling like, you know, it was just never ending. Like I felt like the symptoms were never going to end. And I feel like people need to talk about that funk that you get into towards the end of your first trimester around like week 9, 10, through like 13, where you just feel horrible and you don't have a choice but to continue your life. I feel very grateful that I was able to take those days on the couch where I did not leave the couch. And I had the opportunity to be able to do that because not everyone, you know, is lucky enough to have those days, which is why, of course, I respect those people who push through that much more for like regular jobs and like pushing through even worse. Anyway, I feel like it's very complainy, but that's the point of this video, is to explain my true experience of what I went through in the first trimester. And there's a reason why I titled the first trimester of depression and disassociation, is because I had prenatal appointments, of course, throughout this. And I felt like I was living outside of my body. I feel like I was an observer of someone else going through what I was going through. I felt completely detached from not reality per se, but just from the experience I was going through. And it was a way for my mind to adjust to the new idea of, you know, growing a human and bringing a human into the world and having to raise them. So I feel like my brain had to go through a lot of changes, as well as my body, of coming to terms with that. Because although she is, of course, very wanted and loved already, and it wasn't a huge surprise by any means, but it wasn't something we had planned on that month. Like, we didn't anticipate that month we would get pregnant. We thought it'd be a little bit farther down. So it was a surprise in that sense. Even though it's something we've always wanted together, it still came as a shock. And I think that is a completely normal reaction, to feel completely disconnected from the whole idea for months. And I really didn't feel like attached to the idea, or like it was actually happening to me, until the second trimester. So it's completely normal to take that time to come to terms with it, however your brain needs to adjust to that information, and whatever you have to go through in order to take on that information. Because even if it's the most exciting thing in the world, or it's supposed to be, it's okay to not feel those emotions right away. I feel like it's normal for it to take time to build up to that. Some people don't even experience those emotions until birth, or until 4 months after they're born, you know? I think everyone needs to embrace whatever experience that they're personally going through, because I promise that feeling will kick in eventually, but everyone's timeline is going to be different. And I needed to go through a 3-month period of depression and disassociation in order to like fully embrace what was actually happening. And yeah, on the outside, I was excited. I was telling people the news. I was going to appointments. I was seeing her on the ultrasound, but it still felt like it was happening to someone else. So the emotions weren't coming. They weren't like excitement or like extreme joy yet. It was very strange. It almost felt very neutral. Just me explaining to people that I'm pregnant, like just saying it. It felt like a neutral statement, even though it's like a very exciting thing. I don't know. It's a very weird experience. And I think because your body is going through so many changes and hormones, it doesn't necessarily kick into those feelings right away. Although for some it does. I'm not saying that everyone takes time. Some people experience that feeling right away, and that's great. Anyway, let's continue on with my experience. Vivid dreaming was a thing. They say that pregnant people experience a lot of vivid dreams, still going strong. I feel like I watch a movie every night when I close my eyes. They're very wild and very bizarre. Just weird dreams happening, very vivid. Okay, so then at the end of week 10, the most miserable week of my life. I don't think I've ever been more miserable, I think, in my life than week 10. Week 10 will always go down to the books for me. No, thank you. I got food poisoning. Yeah, I couldn't poop before. Wasn't an issue anymore. Yeah, that was horrible. I must have ate something really bad. I don't know what I ate. I still can't pinpoint it. It was horrible, and it was really difficult because we had friends in town and we had made plans with them to like go mini golfing and things like that, hang out with them and their son because they have a kid, and we don't have many friends in our friend group who have children, so we were excited to like spend time with them and meet their son and everything. And because you know they normally live far away, and I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I had to back out last minute. I just could not leave the toilet. I know that's TMI. Couldn't do it. Could not leave my bathroom. And I'm not about to use someone else's bathroom. You know what I mean? I was so dehydrated. I couldn't, every time I would drink or eat anything, it was like immediately, oh my God. Plus the nausea on week 10 was so bad. Do not recommend. Be very careful with your food safety when you're pregnant. Anyway, but that was the week that I had my little mini mental breakdown because I had to keep canceling plans. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't leave the bed, couldn't leave the bathroom. I felt like such a victim, and I was so tired of being a victim. I just wanted my normal life back. I wanted to feel like my old self again. And I also want to say that it's completely normal to not want to be pregnant at certain times. Like, you're going to reach points and have days where you don't want to be pregnant. Like, not that you don't want your baby. That's not it at all. You don't want to feel pregnant anymore. Like, you don't want to be going through these changes, and you are just tired. You're tired of feeling it because it's a long process. I don't think you realize how long 9 to 10 months is until you're actually pregnant. Although I will say the second trimester is already flying by and it's like going a little too fast. I wish we'd slow it down just a little bit so I can enjoy the second trimester because don't feel pregnant at all. It's been great and I want to enjoy my life right now while I'm not huge and while I am very comfortable. Week 11, I started to experience round ligament pain, which is where you feel like the ligaments on either sides of your uterus expanding. That was very concerning at first. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was like having severe cramping, very uncomfortable feelings, and it hurt worse when I would exercise. So like immediately after exercise or like even the day after, I would feel that ligament pain. And then week 12, the fatigue just kept getting worse and worse. I think week 12 was like peak fatigue. And nausea was subsiding finally. So it was like as soon as one symptom went away, the other like ramped up. So I thought I knew fatigue before, and then it just kept getting worse and worse every single week. But then the nausea was lightening up. So at least there's that. There's that hope that like as the nausea is subsiding, then the fatigue starts. So you're not dealing with it entirely all at once or when they're both at their worst, you know? And then another thing that I tried to do towards the end of the first trimester, because my first reaction to, you know, hearing that I'm pregnant is to research everything. I needed to know everything in that moment, which is not fair to myself because you don't need to know everything in that moment. And I had to make a pact with myself that I only had to deal with the week I was on. Only care about week 10, week 11, week 12 as they're happening. I felt like I was losing myself. I felt like I was already losing my identity, and that I think caused a lot of the reactions in the beginning where I was mourning my old life, my old identity, that I would never be the same. And I think that's completely normal as well to go through that mourning period. But also because in that moment, or in those moments, the first trimester, I was just constantly dedicating all of my free time to learning about pregnancy, like Googling everything. My Pinterest completely changed to all pregnant things. And that was really disappointing for me. I even cried once because I went on Pinterest just to look at some cool stuff and like, you know, art and fashion and things that I like on Pinterest. And it was just all baby stuff. And I was just like, I guess this is my life now, which it's not. It doesn't have to be your only thing going on in your life. You're allowed to still hold on to those things that make you you and the things that you enjoy. So I tried to really make a point towards the end of the first trimester when I started to get a little bit more energy to spend time not researching, not reading books, not looking at anything pregnancy related, have time for myself. Like I deserved that time because baby's not here yet. I'm not having to dedicate my entire life to her yet. I can take time for myself and doing things that I enjoy, like reading a book or puzzling, watching a horror movie, things that I liked before I found out I was pregnant. And I think I just got lost. I mean, I lost myself along the way. I lost my identity and how I felt like who I was to the Googling, to the Pinterest, to the books, to the apps, to everything baby related. And I got lost in it. And so I had to like step away. I was like, I'm Googling too much. Don't Google too much, by the way. Don't Google every single thing that you're going through. But I had to remind myself that I have time to learn. I have time. I have so much time. This is so long. Making a baby is so long. So I have time to think about each trimester individually, each week individually. I don't have to like know about a bunch of information about labor right now, you know what I mean? And I think that's really how you stay at peace, because I am afraid of labor. I am afraid of pain. And I don't know what my plan really is. I have like a vague idea of what I'd like my plan to be as far as the birthing goes, but we don't really know until we're in that situation. And it's also completely normal to be afraid of that stuff. But I think I have to accept that that's going to happen no matter what. Like, she's got to get here somehow. So she's got to get on Earth's side at some point. But that's for future me to worry about. Right now, I'm just enjoying being pregnant with her because I can now say honestly that I absolutely love being pregnant and being pregnant with her. Like, I am so in love. It's kind of weird how magical it is, like how much you feel that connection now that I feel her move. It's just so wild. Every time I see on my app like what's going on with her now, like she can hear me in the womb, and the fact that she can hear me talking right now is like, I don't know, it can make me emotional. Anyway, you got time. You got time to learn it all. You know, focus on one trimester at a time, 1 week at a time. You're gonna be fine. I say that now as I'm feeling good in my second trimester. We'll see how I am at the end when birth is right around the corner. So the last thing I want to talk about is some books that I've picked up, just, you know, reference books, whatever. Obviously there's the famous one, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I did not buy that one. I actually decided to get this one instead, which is called Expecting Better. And I like that this one is full of studies and actual research showing why there are certain rules in place or certain recommendations, and maybe some that are a little bit too strict. They talk about drinking safely during pregnancy. I have not had a sip of alcohol, and I have no intention to. I've absolutely loved being sober this entire time, and I have no intention or no desire at all to go back. So I don't know if I'm gonna stay sober after birth, but been loving it. They talk about sushi and cheese and how you can eat raw fish from reliable sources. That's usually a no-go for some people. You know, they say you can't eat raw fish, you can't have soft cheeses, you can't drink coffee, which you absolutely can. And I have drank coffee every single day in my pregnancy. You just can't go over 200 to 300 milligrams depending on what study you're looking at. I drink 1 cup of coffee a day. I have 1 cup of coffee, or I'll have like a Thai tea drink in the afternoon sometimes, which does have caffeine. Anyway, but this one's really good. I am up to the 3rd trimester, so I've already read through the 2nd. So I'm kind of saving the rest of this book until I reach that point. At the end of the 2nd trimester, I'll read the 3rd trimester section of this book, because I don't need to read about that right now. I don't need to overwhelm myself with information. So there would be plenty of time for me to read the rest of this book in my 3rd trimester. Another one I got is Mindful Birthing. So this is about using meditation to really connect with your body, and hopefully will help me in labor. And I like it. She does actual classes in real life with actual couples, and this kind of recreates those classes and like the activities that they do in the meditation classes. So that's been a good book so far. I'm not that far into it, so I will keep you posted as I read this, but I do want to utilize hypnobirthing and meditation when I actually do go into labor. And then this one is for everyone. This is a quote-unquote self-help book, but not in the sense that like the traditional self-help. And I want to recommend this to people expecting, just because it's been really beautiful for me to read while I'm expecting my baby, because she talks about her experience a little bit and like raising her son and things like that. It's definitely not related to pregnancy. It's not related to like child, anything. But she just has some stories in here that I think are really good. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And also the self-help ideas in this help where I am right now. But it is The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. So I feel like this is really great if you're struggling a little bit with the adjustment period, because this is about wintering, about taking that time for true rest when we go through difficult things. And I feel like pregnancy is difficult. It's difficult. It's a difficult idea. It's hard to do. It's hard to go through. So I think we need to, embrace that we sometimes need a little help and encouragement along the way. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. The body's going through a lot. You're growing an entire human. Like, it's kind of magical, but at the same time, terrifying and traumatic and uncomfortable. I wouldn't exchange this experience for anything else. Like I told Ryan, I would much rather be the person carrying our child and going through the things that I'm going through in order to have this experience. Like I would not trade that for the world. And I know a lot of people would rather switch places with their partner. Totally understandable. Totally get that. But I am honestly at this stage, like enjoying the process and seeing like what my body's doing. Like it's fascinating to me. I feel like I'm an alien living inside a human body, experiencing growing a life. Like I feel like that's what it feels like now, where I'm just like watching my body change in weird ways and like feeling the changes, feeling her inside me. It's a bizarre alien experience. And honestly, I feel like it's a fun experience to go through as a human. Like just as a human being experiencing this is just, it's so exciting. And I try to keep that mindset for when birth comes. So I can be excited about that too. Really excited to go through that as a human. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I hope to vlog some of that experience, but I'm going to tell you right now, most of the labor will not be filmed because I need to focus. So of course, now we are on week 18. I'll show you my little bump. It's getting bigger. Can you see? Can you see her? You can see my body's getting like wide. I feel like I'm just very wide right now. I'm actually getting a B bump. I don't know if you can tell, but I have like this dent going through the middle of my stomach. So I have like this B. Not all pregnant people get this, but some people do, and I have a B bump. So maybe that'll round out eventually. But yeah, there she is. Nice week 18 belly. Yeah, just wide. I'm wide. I remember one day I was in my closet and I put my hands on my hips and it was just so much width. I was like, this is so weird. I usually can like feel my waist. I don't have a waist right now. I don't know. I haven't really been gaining that much weight either. I feel like I am due for some more pounds, which is weird because like I'm gaining something like size wise. I can't fit in my pants anymore, obviously. And like I can feel it in my body. Everything getting bigger, but I haven't on the scale really put on enough weight where I should be. So we'll see. We're obviously monitoring. I think I'm just not eating enough. So I think that's part of it. So I need to eat more. Anyway, so that is my entire first trimester recap. Like I said, please leave your questions down below for any topics you want me to cover in my pregnancy Q&A. I will answer them. So just leave them down below. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.